Alright friends, this is Comic Breakdown, and today we are going to be covering the last two issues of King in Black that were released today from Marvel Comics, and we are also going to be covering X-Factor and Hellions, which honestly both are really awesome lines, and I'm excited to dive into those ones. But this video, we're going to be covering Symbiote Spider-Man issue number 3. And so far in this series, we've seen a few things happen. Now this is taking place in the past. And we have Rocket and Kang together, and they just recently rescued the Black Knight, because he was close to death. The symbiote shadow creature had taken his sword and stabbed him with it. And this sword is said to be, or thought to be, the only thing that can actually kill or hurt the god symbiote Knull. And while all this is taking place, Spider-Man is trying to figure out exactly what the hell is just going on, because he has no clue. All he knows is he's seeing shadow creatures that are attacking and calling him brother, and he really has no clue on exactly what they're meaning or what's going on. And with that being said, let's dive into this issue. So this issue picks us up with Spider-Man flying through the air and really just trying to figure out and comprehend everything that's happened. You know, one minute he's at the insane asylum interviewing a crazy guy in a wheelchair. The next minute, the sun's being blacked out, Black Knight's getting visited from Merlin, and now the Black Knight's in some kind of trouble, and he has no idea what's going on. And this is when he sees a prototype version of the Quinjet, and he automatically assumes this has got to be Tony Stark. Like, I'll go find Tony, and I'll talk to Tony, and we'll get all this resolved. I'll tell him everything that I've seen so far, and we can try to figure out what's going on. And so he webs himself up to the ship, and he peeks inside to let them know, like, hey guys, I'm here, but not realizing that it's being piloted by the shadow creature symbiote. And with that, he blows Spider-Man off of the ship. And as Spider-Man falls to the ground, he's rescued by none other than Kang the Conqueror. And Spider-Man's still a little bit dizzy, but once he starts to comprehend who he's in front of and what's actually happening, he immediately attacks Kang. And these two really start dueling it out. But at the end of the day, like, this is Kang the Conqueror. Like, he even says it himself. Like, he's someone who can stop Thor dead in his tracks. Who is Spider-Man to someone like him? And he just calls Spider-Man. He's like, you're a moron, man. Like, we are literally on the same side. I am trying to save the universe here. And honestly, the entire dialogue of this whole comic, I absolutely love. It is phenomenal. The back and forth banter between Rocket and Kang, between Spider-Man and Kang, like, it's very comical, but not in such an overwhelming or overbearing way. And so once the dust has settled, these three, you know, they sit down and have a conversation, and it's still a pretty aggressive conversation. And Kang the Conqueror's letting them know, like, I'm trying to save the universe. And everybody's question is always, why are you trying to save it? Not realizing, like, hey, I live in this freaking universe. You guys are idiots. Like, why would I want this universe to be taken over by someone else? If anybody's going to take it over, it's going to be Kang the Conqueror, not some Knull symbiote god or shadow creatures or anything else. And this is when Kang the Conqueror shows them that, you know, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. Like, I'm literally healing the Black Knight. And this is where Spider-Man learns that the Black Knight had been stabbed by one of the creatures, which they have in another chamber off to the side. And what Kang the Conqueror wants to do is purge this symbiote from whoever it has itself attached to. And he gets close enough to the sun to where he can be able to shoot this thing right into it. And that's exactly what he does, stripping the symbiote from its host. And from there, we see none other than Monica Rambeau, aka Captain Marvel, also known as Pulsar, Photon, Daystar, Lady of Light, Monica Marvel, Sun Goddess, and Spectrum. Now, a lot of you may be thinking, you know, this is them just putting Captain Marvel on a black female superhero's name, but Monica is actually the first person to ever actually carry the title of Captain Marvel. And she had her first appearance as Captain Marvel in The Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16 back in 1982, I believe. And as she starts to come to consciousness, she sees Spider-Man, and then she sees Kang the Conqueror, and immediately attacks. And this has been everybody's reaction as soon as they see him, because they assume if he's here, something bad is happening. And once they settle the dust yet again, they all sit down and discuss what's happened. And all she knows is that she was taken over by the symbiote and that she could hear its thoughts, how it's connected to the hive. And this is where they learn that Black Knight's sword was the weapon that they needed because they're afraid of it. They think that it can destroy Knull. And so Kang the Conqueror's first thoughts are, we need to get it back. And of course, Captain Marvel, she's just like, oh, okay, bullcrap. Like, you just want to rule the universe. Like, stop acting like you're here to just help humanity. And he's like, true, but tell me one thing, like, who would I rule if everyone were dead? And it's 100% true. Like, who could he possibly be ruling over if everybody's taken over by symbiotes? Of course he wants to be able to help, that way later on he can take it over himself. And this is when the Black Knight starts to awaken, because they had been talking about how to destroy this sword once they get it back from the symbiotes. And their thoughts are, maybe we could throw it into a sun, call it a day. But the Black Knight lets them know, like, you can't just throw this sword into the sun. It could easily survive that because it was forged by Merlin. And so whatever other attributes it may have, it is a sword of magic. And this is where Captain Marvel gets the idea to talk to somebody who's a blacksmith at Nowhere. And Nowhere, the giant space station at the end of the universe, which is also the severed head of a Celestial. And there's a troll there, and she had fled there to escape her brother. But she may be able to do it because she's meddled with both magic and metal, and she's crafted weapons from all across the galaxy. She fled here to escape her brother's wrath because in troll tradition, she would end up dead because of her brother. And this is when we are panned over to her and we see the shadow creature symbiote bringing the sword to her. But before they're able to like cut a deal to destroy this sword, her brother arrives, Ulick the Troll. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Personally, I have to say, this is becoming a really awesome little 5-issue miniseries. I have thoroughly enjoyed the Symbiote Spider-Man, the interactions with Kang the Conqueror and Rocket. You know, Rocket's always just a fun character to read and follow, no matter what timeline it's in, no matter, you know, if it's based in 1980 or if it's based in 2021. His stories are always a lot of fun to read. So all in all, I have to say it was a pretty phenomenal comic. You know, I really enjoyed the artwork. It's very 1980-ish style, and that's definitely what they were going for, just to kind of bring you back and set you into that nostalgia state of reading comics back when we were younger. I'm really excited to see how this is all going to connect. I'm really hoping that we see the sword brought up as the King in Black storyline closes. We have a lot of things that are really building up here. You know, we just got done covering Guardians of the Galaxies, and we have a Peter Quill that's godlike. So if by chance Rocket still has that sword, or they know where it's at the very least, maybe Peter Quill can use it to focus all of his power and be able to kill Knull. Or maybe Dylan is the one that holds the sword and wields it and is able to take down the hive. That would be also very interesting. I think it's going to be a mixture of a little bit of all of this probably. But I'm very excited to find out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you have not yet, please do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. And until the next video.